I'm going to answer a few questions and give a few hints on the wheel drawing. One of the questions I want to deal with right away is what happens if you open up a drawing and the format's not showing up around the outside like mine is. That happens because the format is not stored in the same folder as the drawing. So if you close it out and you manage session erase not displayed, so it's not remembered in Creo, you have the option then to open up the Bead Drawing Template Inch, bring it into session, and then open your drawing, and that should fix it. But that only works if you've never hit save after you've seen the issue. If you've seen the issue, you've tried that, it still doesn't work, fix it in the sheet setup, bring in the B-size inch format, and if it asks you to what to do with the tables, you want to remove all tables. Once you've got it in, it might be a good chance to do File, Save as a Backup, and just make sure that all the files you need to open that are all together in the Geneva Cam Drawing folder, or Geneva Cam folder. So the Save as a Backup will take a copy of the format and make it live in the same location as the drawing. So I've already done a little bit of work on this, got my views looking the way I want, got it down to 2 views, moved things around, changed the scale. I'm going to add some center lines. All right, start with center lines. That just gives us 1. You know what, that's going to be fine for what we need. If I had, technically I should have center lines for all of the arcs, for all of these slots. Another trick that we have for creating something like the Geneva wheel is a detailed view. All of our views are going to live in the layout ribbon. So creating a detailed view is a view option here. So the front view, the isometric view, those are general views. The right side view here, this is a projection view. It's projected off of the front. This is going to be a detailed view. So down here at the bottom, there's instructions. It says select a center point for the detail on existing view. I mean, it doesn't have to be the actual center, it just has to be contained within the view. Then it says to sketch a spline. So we're just going to create a little loop around this one. Middle click to finish. And then select the center point from the drawing view. So we can modify some things here, but this is a good start. All right, so I'm going to move this view up a little bit. Move this one over. Double click to get some view properties for the detailed view. The detailed view is a reference point. The spline was defined. I don't like how it did this little zigzag at the end, so I'm going to redefine the spline. Click to spline define. Click around again. Get close but not overlap. Middle click. The next thing I'm going to change is the circle should be an ASME 94 circle. It's going to give us a better view. It's going to clean this up. And there we go. It's where we've got these dashed lines and the letter A in between it instead of circle, which had the note sticking out. This allows us to add some of the dimensions to just this one instance and make those rounds and the width, etc. Another issue that we're having is with the skeleton geometry. If you have the skeleton geometry showing up, that's certainly creating a distraction to your drawing, and we do not want the skeleton geometry. In the model tree, right-click, hide in model. So you do not want the skeleton geometry to be showing here. The other issue that we end up having is because of using the skeleton, the show model annotations doesn't give us as much dimensions as we've had previously. So all I have is the thickness in the 2 rounds, which is unfortunate. I don't need to show the 0 degrees or the 360 degrees, so let's see here. I will show the 2 rounds, and I will show the thickness. Everything else we're going to have to add manually. So the thickness here, I'll move it up to the top. I can avoid the issue with the extension lines. The extension lines were way down across there. If I want this to be 3 decimal places, right, I can change that with the dimension ribbon, but as we really don't have a lot of control over that, it's a purchased one, the 2 decimal places is fine. I'm going to move item to view. So select the dimension, and this icon here is move to view. That allows me to place it in a different view location. Let's clean these up a little bit. We do have the option to flick the text from side to side. Right click, hold, flip text. The other thing I want to include is the fact that this round is applied to the inside edges, but it occurs 10 times, so twice per slot. If I double click on the dimension text, 10x R.02. Same thing with the second one. This is my outside round. Double click, dimension text, 10x. That's better. Okay, we have a bunch of dimensions to get added on here. Let's save it and take a look at just the slot for now. Control for multiple, middle click to place it. Really, that's the only dimension that's going to show up on this particular view is that the thickness of the slot and all of those rounds. The thickness of the slot, we need to indicate that that's going to happen 5 times for 5 slots. All right, other dimensions to get added on here. Let's start with the outer diameter of the entire plate. We'll place a dimension, select that cylindrical outer shape. There's not a lot of it, but we'll click it. I don't want that point, so let's cancel and try that again. Dimension, line, there we go. We've got the radius. Now let's just go ahead and place the radius. Middle click to place it, and cancel the reference selector. I don't want this to show up as a radius. I prefer to think of it as a, well, actually the radius isn't wrong, but if we wanted to switch it into a diameter view, that happens in the dimension ribbon under orientation. I can change it to an angle, an arc length, a diameter, or a radius. With the diameter, I'm going to right click, so it's just pointing to that little portion there. Get the arrow line cleaned up. I can do similar things with this one. Middle click to place. Have that show up as a diameter, and then flip the arrowhead. Another arc over here. Middle click to place. We also need to know a dimension that goes from the center here to the center. Hold down Control. of there. Middle click. And notice in that dimension, it showed up as center to center. So if yours isn't going center to center, you have those options in your dimension ribbon. All right, so we've got the radius of the outer edge. We've got the diameter, the radius. We don't know where that's located, so I might want to pull this out. And it'd probably be good to add a few center points into here. The easiest way to add some of those center points in is going to be actually showing them in the model. Let's go to the model. And we want to show, if I look at the top view, I think I want a center line in the middle of this one, because that's where I'm showing my distance left over. And I want a center line in the middle of this one. You could show all of them, but I think I'm going to stick with just the two. So select this surface, get a center line. There we go. All right. If I switch back to my drawing, I can show model annotations and select axis 3. Just want to show it in my first view. A5. And that's a little bit of a cleaner view. Let's add one more dimension. Hold down Control. The outer ring. The outer extrude has its dimension, the thickness, and the diameter. The pattern of the extrude has its dimensions, which is the distance left over and the width of the slot. Pattern 3 has its dimensions, a radius, and a distance from the center. And then the rounds have their dimensions with their information. So all the information is given here. All right, last thing I want to do is clean up a little bit of these properties. In my courses, in the content for Geneva Crayon, there's a page called Drawing Properties. And here's some options that we can set up to improve the view of our drawings. File, Prepare, Drawing Properties. And we're going to set these. I'm going to grab that as a snip. And just make it easily available on the side of my screen. All right, here we go. File, Prepare, Drawing Properties. And we get this pop-up, so detailed options, change. It might sort by category. It might sort alphabetically. It's up to you. You can see by category that there's a lot of drawing options we could set. My particular way of doing this is I typically just use the option window down here and type in the information I'm looking for. So the arrow file style was set to filled. And that's much better. That makes that arrowhead filled in, where before it was more the closed style. We set the dimension leader length to 0.25. Dimension text gap. Set that to 1/8 of an inch. Next, we'll set draw arrow length. A little bit shorter. draw arrow width. Not much of a change there. Make the text height just a little bit smaller. And I will turn the tolerance display on. When I turn the tolerance display on, it doesn't actually show the tolerances, it just makes it available that I could show the tolerances. So there's all those changes. The arrows are a little bit shorter, the text height's a little bit smaller, the gaps are a little bit shorter, extension lines maybe a little bit here, a little bit smaller. All right, helps clean it up. Okay, so we've added a detailed drawing, we've dealt with the format and any issues with importing the format, we've set drawing properties, we've changed the input in front of a dimension, we've added ones, we've cleaned up extension lines and center lines, flipped arrowheads, flipped dimension text, added center lines by adding them to the model. So there's a lot of things that we did to improve this drawing here. One thing I want to make sure you're ready to do when it's time to submit, and we're not going to submit this just yet, there's one more thing we need to do. Again, save as a backup is going to make sure that the drawing, this part, the format all live in the same folder. To submit this, to send it to someone else, you would save as a copy and you could save it as a PDF file. That was also an option from Quick Export. But to send it to someone just as a drawing, the PDF's the right way to do it. But to submit it to the Dropbox so that I have access to your file to see everything, you'll create it, save a copy as a zip file. That zip file would include all of the things needed to open the drawing.